Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, I'm stuck in a rut. I've got an email here from a guy who's going through a really shitty, difficult time. About 2 years ago, he broke up with his ex. At the time, he was saying this is a great decision for him. He also started a charity that he's been trying to get off the ground. He says it's pretty much been a miserable failure since the time he started. He's 39 years old, and he's just like, I don't think I'm ever going to achieve anything good in my life. He's just at a point where he just feels like it's totally hopeless. So before I get into his email, I got a quote that I wrote on this topic, and then we're going to go through his email and analyze his thinking, his belief system, where he's at, and what he needs to do, what he needs to focus on to get himself turned around. Because I know there's a lot of people that are watching this video right now that are at a place in their life. Maybe their business is great or their career is great, but their personal life sucks. Or their personal life is great, but their business or their career is in the toilet. Or maybe everything sucks. Maybe they're out of shape. They don't have anybody to date. They don't like their job. They don't like what they're doing for a living. They don't have much money, whatever it happens to be. The bottom line is, if you want to get to where you want to be in life, you got to have a vision. You got to have a compelling vision, a compelling enough vision that's emotionally compelling enough, meaning on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 10. In other words, 10 being you love it, 1 being you hate it. Meaning there's nothing else that you could think of doing that's more compelling than what your vision is for your life. Because if you don't have a really compelling vision, when you get to a point where you're 2, 3 years down the road, like this guy, he's basically 2 years down the road and trying to create this charity, and he's failing and not getting anywhere. And if that really is his true mission and his passion in life, that will encourage him, that will compel him to figure a way, to find a way to make it happen. But if it's something that's maybe a 5 or a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10, no, he's simply, now things are really difficult and really challenging. This is the kind of moment where a guy like that really hasn't chosen the right thing for him, he's just going to give up. So the quote that I wrote says, the best thing you can do when you feel like you're stuck in a rut, you're not making any progress towards accomplishing your dreams and goals, and life feels hopeless and like it will never get any better, is to put your head down and start taking action towards what you want. Why? When you're not taking any action and are standing still, this will cause you to experience fear and doubt. When you start taking action, you'll bring yourself back into the present moment, which is the only moment that exists, and this will cause you to feel confident and have the courage to continue moving forward. Most big goals and dreams often take a decade or more to accomplish and are the result of breaking big goals and tasks down into small daily activities and small goals that can be completed before the end of each day. When you become focused on instant gratification and become impatient, you make it impossible to focus on what you need to do right now and how you need to continue to refine, adapt, and modify your approach in order to eventually achieve your goals and dreams slowly over time. Everything worth having in life and that which you will most highly value always will take more time, effort, and money than you think it will. And that's part of the problem. This guy, he probably thought things would take off, things would be great. Here he is after 2 years, and he feels like he's gotten nowhere. But one thing he has done, which he obviously is not looking at, is he's learned a lot of things. He's tried a lot of things. And when you try and you fail, no matter what happens, every time you fail at something, you're going to learn something. In other words, you're going to learn what didn't work. It's like with Thomas Edison, the way he looked at it. I remember there was a time in his life he was, 7,000 or 8,000 different materials that he had tried to make the light bulb work. And all of them failed miserably. He even tried human hair at one point. And somebody was asking him, and he's like, you tried 8,000 something different things and none of them worked? He says, no. I know 8,200 and whatever the hell it was things that will not make the light bulb work. So every time I find something and I fail at, I'm that much closer to finding something that will work. That's the way he looked at it. And the other people around him were like, you fucking crazy old man. Well, that fucking crazy old man, eventually, he and his staff, they found the right material. And they figured it out. And the rest is history. So he says, hi, Corey. I have to condense this all, but man, today was an awful day. However, I just watched your video and laughed real hard for the first time in a long time. Well, I'm glad you could laugh. He says, the last few weeks or years have been where every fucking thing I do turns against me. I know, boo-hoo, but I have that vibe where everything I do, say, think, and act is a failure, and I can't positively think it away. Well, positively thinking it away is, you've heard me say this before, you got to see things as they are in life. Not better than they are or worse than they are, but as they are. And that's kind of a lot of positive thinking, which is mostly bullshit anyways. That's like one of the things that Tony Robbins says in his 30 Days of Personal Power series. That's like looking at your garden, you got weeds growing in your garden going, there is no weeds, there is no weeds, there is no weeds, even though the weeds are still there. You can't positively think away the weeds in your fucking garden. You got to pull those little fuckers out of there. You have to take action. And anybody that strives to achieve anything in life is experienced failure. Even one of the things that Michael Jordan said, he said, the reason why I succeed is because I failed over and over again. And I can't remember who said it, but he said success, or it was Churchill said this. He says success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. Churchill knew what he wanted. He knew eventually that he wanted to be the leader of his country. He had a compelling vision. He had a burning desire to become that. And when you look at his record and how he got there, he failed a lot. I mean, as a matter of fact, he was personally responsible for a major fucking failure of the British military, British Navy, during World War I. But before that time, everybody looked highly upon him. And after that happened, and a lot of men lost their lives, he was like a pariah. And so he had to basically start all the way from the bottom and work his way back up again. So he'd achieved a lot of success. I think he was in Parliament, and then he was in the military during the war, and he just came tumbling all the way down the mountain. It's like what Vince Lombardi said, the great Hall of Fame football coach who the football trophy is named after. He says, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, but it's how many times you get up. The worst is, I believe I am a guy for whom great things can happen, or I can make my way, but I'm badly defeated and can't seem to turn it around anymore. Or I remember my old office when I was in the real estate business. We had this really nice office building. We had achieved this really high level of success, and I had all these like success posters around the office. And I remember one was of an American bald eagle, this badass fucking bird that is our country bird. And it had this picture of this eagle looking like he was ready to kick ass. And it said, never let defeat have the last word. About 2 years ago, I stopped seeing my ex, and she agreed 100%, no question. Then the past 2 years, I've gone through hell building a non-profit charity that has been a borderline horrible failure since 1 month in. So 2 years of embarrassing fucking hell. Well, dude, I mean, the bottom line is, obviously, what you're doing and how you're going about it has not worked. If you want to build a successful charity, then you need to go talk to people who have built and who are currently running successful charities that have the kind of revenue and are having the kind of impact that you want to have. Find out how they raise their money, how they find their donors, how they go about it, how they run it. Maybe you should even go work for a charity and see how it's run from the inside and out, and then model the success of that charity instead of beating your fucking head against the wall trying to reinvent the wheel. Obviously, the strategy that you're employing to try to make your charity a success, it's fucked. It ain't working. And therefore, you need to change your approach. And the quickest way to succeed and get to where you want to be is to go talk to people that are actually running successful charities. The kind of charity that you look at and you say, someday I would love to have something like that. I would be honored to have that level of success with my charity that these particular ones have had. Find out what they're doing, where they get their money from, how they hire people, how they run things, how they give their money, because it's more than just giving money away. It's putting money to use that people are giving you in a way that really adds value to people's lives. Because people that have made a lot of money, they don't want to just piss money away or give money to somebody that's just going to fucking piss it away. They want to see that their hard-earned money is going to be put to good use, and it's going to create some value and make people's lives better in the world. He says, I'm no spring chicken at the age of 39. Well, when I was 39 years old, at that point, I was 34 years old. I was making $500,000 a year. Had a fucking amazing girlfriend. Was staying in 5-star resorts all over the world. Had a $1 million house in Lake. Had 2 cars. Had a BMW X5, $70,000 fucking car at the time. Had a $90,000 ski nautique, aeronautique 226 ski boat. I had 2 jet skis. Nice dock, fucking beautiful lake. I had another house. I had a $2.5 million office building. I had 2 business partners. We had 40 employees, and we were grossing about $7 million a year. And that was something that I personally had started by myself in '96, and eventually in '98 took on 2 business partners, and then grew it into that big business. And I completely got out of that business because I had the bright idea at the time that I don't have the same internal enthusiasm for this shit anymore. And you know what? I'm tired of fucking working with these business partners of mine. I'm tired of the real estate business. I still love construction. I still love building custom homes. I still do that. But general real estate and mortgages, it just wasn't fucking blowing my skirt up anymore. So I knew that it was time to make a change. And I liquidated everything and I sold everything. But by the time 5 years something later, 2009, I basically was down to like my last $20,000. And I had my car, which was paid off. And I moved in with my dad because I had sold everything. And I was just I still hadn't figured out the right way to market my business. So I was making money at my business, but it wasn't enough to have a decent lifestyle. And so the way I looked at it, as I approached it, I lived like a college student. I had no car payment. I basically had my cell phone, some web hosting expenses. I think my overhead was like a couple $100 a month, I think it was. So I was like, 3-4 months, I'll get things figured out, and then I'll be off my dad's couch, no problem. Well, it took me a few years to get the fuck off my dad's couch. And I'm telling you something, it's very fucking humbling to go from making $500,000 a year, being on TV, walking around town, and people go, hey, you're that guy on fucking TV. Hey, you're that real estate guy, right? To fucking sleep on your dad's couch. And all the people who used to work for you going, oh, you're a fucking loser, you're a fucking dreamer, you've been holding on to this thing for 3 years, you're never going to get anywhere. I even went and waited tables for fucking 10 months to make some extra money so I could pump some money into my Google pay-per-click campaigns and pay my web developers to try different things to figure out what the fuck, how I needed to package up what I do today. I mean, when I started my business back in 2005, my life coaching business, one of the things that's really made my business grow so well and so fast is YouTube. Well, it didn't even fucking exist back then. YouTube came into existence, I think it was 2006. So when you start to do something, you don't know how you're going to fucking get there. You just know you have a burning desire to do it and to move in that direction. And the bottom line is, you're 2 years in. So fucking what? Big fucking hairy deal. 2 years, it's fucking nothing. It might take you 10 years to figure it out and make your charity a success. Maybe you have to go work for another successful charity while you're building your charity on the side. You got to find a way, not a way out. If this is really truly what you want to do with your life, you'll find a way. But obviously the approach that you're taking is fucked. It's not working for you. So, I mean, the bottom line is, I figured I'd be in my dad's place for a few months. It turned into a few years. It fucking sucked. It wasn't fun at all. I didn't enjoy that. The other thing was that my car warranty had expired on my BMW X5. It was a $70,000 car when I bought it. I think at that time it was like 7, 8 years old, something like that. But I basically drove it to my little office. I had this little hole-in-the-wall office that I leased. I think it was for like $250, $300 a month. I think that was my rent on it. And I drove from there. I drove to the grocery store into my dad's place. I didn't hardly go out. I didn't do anything. You know why? Because I didn't want to drive my car anywhere. Because every time something fucking broke in the car, it was like $1,200, $1,300. And it's like, it was just so the more I drove it, the higher the likelihood that something was gonna break down. And it was fucking miserable. It was frustrating. And you imagine like waiting tables for 10 months when you're fucking 39 years old. I fucking hated waiting tables. I remember back when I was 21, 22 years old after I got out of tending bar when I finished college. I was like, man, I don't ever want to fucking do that again. I had nightmares about that. One of my biggest fears was that I ended up back working at the restaurant that I worked at. I obviously didn't go back there, but I ended up going back into the restaurant business. Something I swore I would never do. I thought it was the most painful thing I could ever think of in my life, but yet I fucking sucked it up and did that because it gave me the flexibility to just work a few days a week. I think I was working like 3 nights a week is all I worked to make some extra money. Instead of going and getting a full-time job somewhere, which would have given me a much nicer lifestyle, but I don't even know if I'd be doing what I'm doing today, because I wouldn't have had all the time that I put in writing and all the stuff that built my website and my YouTube library. I got like 1,700 videos over the last 4 or 5 years that I've done now. Eventually, because I believed in myself, I knew eventually through trial and error, I'd eventually figure out how to do it. And I did, and I stuck with it. And the funny thing is this business, it was a lot harder to figure out the right way to package this business up than everything else I'd ever done, all the other businesses that I'd had before it. But you know what? It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done as well. And when I look back on it, you know what? It makes me a better coach. The fact that when I got to be 39 years old, I'm fucking sleeping on my dad's couch, didn't want to drive my car around because I didn't want it to fucking break down on me and be out $1,200-$1,500. And you got a BMW if you ever had a car like that. Everything's fucking expensive. And, they just fuck you in parts. I mean, especially with the labor. It sucked, but I did it. It was my choice. And one of the things that Wayne Dyer says is so true is that no matter where you are in life, you could take great comfort in the fact that your best thinking got you to where you are right now. And so at 39 years old, your best thinking got you to where you are. You got a charity you've been working on for 2 years, and so far it's been a failure. It'll be a failure until eventually it's a success. Like I said, you need to model the success of other people that have successful charities. Maybe you go work for them, whatever it happens to be, and then you just apply the same things that they're doing, and you'll get the same results. Maybe you need to become more charismatic. Maybe you need to develop sales skills. Maybe you need to develop better presentation skills so you can convince people why they should give you their money for your charity so you can impact the world in whatever way it happens to be that you want to do it. He says, with my birthday on March 1st, and after trying to get my ex back and her saying no, I realized, shit, I didn't think this through. I'm old, financially ruined, and have lots of other character, family, and business flaws. I mean, think about it. I went from being able to stay at 5-star resorts, hanging out with people like Tony Robbins and people that had sold their businesses for hundreds of millions of dollars, hanging out with famous rock and roll musicians, people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, just amazing fucking people that had achieved success way bigger than anything I had ever achieved in my life. And I didn't even go to lunch or to dinner anywhere because I didn't want to spend the money, and I didn't want to take a chance of my fucking car breaking down because I didn't want that added expense of the car. I mean, that's fucking humbling, especially 39 years old after having all that expense, walking around town, people recognizing you, girls coming up going, hey, you're that guy on TV. Hey, when are you free to get together? It sucked. It was a motherfucker. I'll tell you what, I wanted to put my fist through a wall a number of times. I punched the wall quite a few times because it was frustrating as hell. Because I knew I deserved better. I knew I could succeed eventually, but it's like I had no idea when it was going to be. And that whole I figured when I got out of real estate, I figured 2 years tops, I'll have this business figured out. It took me 4.5 years to figure out my fucking business model. But you know what? I'm glad I did it. Because I can read an email from a guy like you. I know exactly what you're feeling. I know exactly what you're thinking. I've fucking been there, dude. I had nothing. All I had basically was a couple $1,000 in the bank, and I had my car, which was, I think was worth $26,000 at the time. But that was my fucking life, and I didn't really have much of a life. I wasn't really doing a whole hell of a lot. I was hanging out with my dad, my aunt and uncle, my family, and some of my friends, but other than that, it's just I was focused on trying to figure out my business. Because I believed in myself. I believed in what I was teaching. I knew that it worked. But I had to fall back on everything that had ever made me successful up until that point. He says, I'm fucked. Well, you may be fucked, but I guess you're not getting fucked because you're not with your ex anymore. But it's just a perspective. You're fucked until you figure it out. Simple as that. He says, and the girl I had and wanted badly would have been a great woman to be with forever. So in other words, you haven't found anybody better yet, and because you're broke and you're not really feeling like you're succeeding, you haven't really had the guts to go out there and meet and date anybody else. Because as a man, when you're failing, when you don't have money to take a chick out or you're worried about your car breaking down, you're not really focused on dating. You're focused on figuring it out so you can get back to having a place. I mean, think about it. I'm going to bring a chick back to my dad's place. He had this big opening above the door because the AC vent was on the outside. It blew air into the room. So I have a girl. I remember one time, one of my girlfriends I was dating, we were sleeping on I was like on the pull-out bed, and we're fooling around. We had the sheets over us and stuff. my dad, he's just fucking clueless. He just comes fucking walking in the room and we're right in the middle of fucking. He's like, oh, hey. And he didn't realize what we were doing. I'm like, get the fuck out. Like, what are you doing? Why don't you knock, But it's just like, that's not fun. I mean, it was fun, but it wasn't fun. My dad walked in. He says, as I was getting on more solid ground 4 months ago, she said she'd drive to Arizona, where I was staying, to meet up with me. So, in other words, you want to go back and heat up leftovers because that's what's easy. Even though 2 years ago, you were glad it was over and you're like, hey, you had peace about it. You knew it was time to move on. He says, the week before, I got drunk and texted her that some buddies and I had some prostitutes over, and it was difficult to concentrate while texting back and forth with her. My drunken mindset was to make her jealous. He says, of course, there were no prostitutes, but there was a dumb fucking idiot, me. That's one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard somebody say to make a girl jealous. Oh yeah, we got a bunch of prostitutes over, and hoping that's going to make her jealous. She's thinking, do I really want to hook up with my ex-boyfriend after he's been fucking some prostitutes? Do I really want to get a disease? I mean, think about that, dude. You must have been really shit-faced. Like I said, that is definitely one of the dumbest things somebody has ever told me they did to make a girl jealous. And I've seen some really stupid shit before. He says, as the time drew closer to when I knew she would at least see me, she texted me that she had a boyfriend and that I am to leave her alone. Ooh. She's not kidding. She's gone. She's got pictures of her and her boyfriend making out and riding a horse in horse-drawn carriages and pictures of her in her new life. It's dead and over for me. Good, she did you a favor. Now you can't go back to what you really didn't want anyways 2 years ago. It's the way the universe works. When one door closes, another one opens, but you're still trying to open a door that's closed. He says, so here I sit like a fucking loser in so many dimensions, and I'm supposed to think positive? I'm not saying think positive, but you need to take some action, and you need to change your approach. Because your plan is fucked, dude. Whatever the plan is that you're employing to make your charity a success, it sucks because it ain't working. He says, what happened to me? You became impatient and you started looking for instant gratification. That's what happened to you. Because it takes a long time I'd say it's going to take you at least 10 years for a charity to become really successful. I mean, you look at the charity that Bill Gates started. He's the richest guy in the world. And he started called the Gift Pledge, or the Pledge, I think it is. Basically, people that are like multi-billionaires and up give like half of their money away to his charity, and they vaccinate people and do all kinds of wonderful things. Well, the first time he came up with it, he was the first guy to put his money in. But he still had to come around and convince other people that he was going to be smart about putting their money to good use. You got Warren Buffett eventually to agree to do the same thing, and then one person after another. So you need to focus on getting the first investor for your charity, and then the second, and then the third, and the fourth. And you got to keep them coming back and giving more, but they got to see some value for what they're putting in. Not that they're giving money to your charity and it just goes in your pocket to pay your fucking bills. He says, this is not good. I'm in a fucking rut and I can't see anything good ever happening again. Inaction breeds fear and doubt. Taking action breeds confidence and courage. I think it was Dale Carnegie that said that. He says, I'll be 90 and still reading how to pick up chicks using these one-liner books. Well, like I said, what you need to do is you need to get busy taking action. You got to ask yourself, what do I need to do right now today? What little small goal can I accomplish today before I go to bed tonight that's going to move me, even if it's 1 inch or 1 fucking millimeter, closer to where you want to be in life? And take that action, because when you put your head down and you get really busy taking action, that brings you right, like I talked about in the quote in the beginning of the video, that brings you into the present moment. And when you're in the present moment, which is the only moment that exists anyways, then you're focused on what you need to do right now. And you're taking action, you're accomplishing things, you feel like you're getting somewhere. Even though you're not reaching your overall goal, like I said, you got to figure it's going to take you 10, maybe 20 years to make your charity a success. You're not going to make your charity a success in 2 years. That only happens for like super ultra rich people like Bill Gates they got $20-30 billion to plop in. It's a success. It's got $20 billion just like that because he put it there. So if he's got that much money to put in, it's a lot easier for him to convince other people to put their money in there. So you got to have a good, clear, concise vision of how your charity is going to impact the world in a positive way and change people's lives. Believe in that vision and sell that vision to other people to help them volunteer, to help you raise money, whatever it happens to be. And if you're not good at raising money, you need to find people and network with people who are good at that. You need to learn that fucking skill, because really that's what a charity is all about. Convincing people that giving you their money is going to put that money to good use. It's not going to be fucking pissed away, and they're going to actually be able to see some results for the fact that they're putting money into something and trying to make themselves better and feel better about and leaving something behind that has an impact long after they've since passed away. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone, Skype, or email coaching session. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, clicking the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions for booking whichever option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.